I'm reading a book at the moment. Don't worry. And there's more. And do you remember Jimmy Cricket? And there's more. But there is more. The book is called A Bridge Between Worlds, and it's a book that explores consciousness and phenomena. And I'm reading it because I'm in that particular space at the moment, and I'm looking for things, hoping for things. And I have read this. Did I say that? I've read this book before, but many years ago. And I was getting towards the end, and the penultimate chapter of this book is a chapter about Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce was actually the very first kind of thing that got my interest sparked in hypnosis. At the time I discovered him, I was at uni, and I was having my first serious bout of depression. I wouldn't go as far as say nervous breakdown, but I was in a pretty bad place. I was in a dark place, and the reason I was in a dark place is I discovered Nietzsche. I was reading loads of Nietzsche, and my faith, I was already questioning my faith. I started questioning my faith really when I started questioning I come from a Jewish background, and I was never religious, but I had a spirituality, and I started questioning the whole attitude towards homosexuality in particular, and that made me question a God that can, that tells you that you can't love. Any kind of love can be wrong. I questioned, and that made me question my whole faith. And then I found Nietzsche, and I thought, yeah, this is bullshit. And unfortunately for me, that left me in a bad place, because I suddenly thought I had nothing to replace. Suddenly everything and kind of my foundations were being shaken, and it left me feeling vulnerable and depressed. And then I had some phenomena, let's just say. It could be phenomena, it could be, it could have been too many drugs, I don't know. Anyway, I had some phenomena in my mind, and it set me on a search. And in those days, there was no phone, there was no Googling. You had to go and read books and go into libraries. Not that I'm averse to going to libraries, but I've never been an extensive researcher. But I did go to the library, and I found Edgar Cayce, and Edgar Cayce really was the spark that got me into hypnosis. And it's an incredible story, so I'm going to share that story with you now. As I'm aware, I've already been talking for 2.5 minutes, so I'll try and keep it brief. So Edgar Cayce was a psychic medium that would go into trance and diagnose people remotely. There's thousands of documentation, bits of documentation about what he did, and he was a religious man, so he never took any money for it ever. And lots of people tried to go and reveal him as a fraud, but they often just came back convinced. And his story started really when he was about 9. So at 9 years old, him and his friend would go into the woods and say that they could see these people in the trees and the forest and the flowers. The same year, that friend of his died, and he used to go looking for his friend, in the forest where they used to go together. And he said that he had a vision on one particular occasion, and he saw this woman, like some kind of beautiful, ethereal angel kind of thing. And this woman spoke to him and said, Edgar, what is it that you most want? What's your heart's desire? And he said, I want to be able to help people. That same day, his brain was feeling a little bit foggy and dull, but he went into school the following day, and he performed particularly badly. He was not an academic child, and he performed so badly that the teacher got in touch with his dad, or spoke to his home, and his dad started testing him on his schoolwork. And Edgar had this book that they'd been studying at school, and Edgar did so badly, his dad got frustrated and hit him to the floor. And at that point, Edgar heard this voice saying, Edgar, don't worry, we're going to help you. And Edgar said to his dad, Dad, I'm just tired. Can you just give me a rest, and I'll be better when you ask me questions when I've had a bit of a rest. So Edgar's dad let him sleep for about 10 or 15 minutes, and Edgar fell asleep on his schoolbook. And when his dad started testing him, on this schoolwork, Edgar could suddenly answer all the questions from his book, and also stuff that he'd never studied before. That was the beginning. And from that point on, Edgar he could discover that he could sleep on a book and absorb all the information. And then he advanced in his school, year beyond his school years. And then the next occasion of something very strange was he got knocked over. He had an injury playing some kind of sport. He came back and he remained very calm. He was very dizzy, but he remained calm. He told his parents how to diagnose. He diagnosed a spinal injury and told his parents exactly what to do to get some kind of poultice and heal him. And the next day was completely all right, and he had no recollection of it. Forward wind, he's now 29, he's married, he's a photographer, living a very ordinary existence apart from these strange bouts of phenomena. But then he becomes ill and he goes to see a hypnotist, and this hypnotist discovers with him, and it's an amateur hypnotist, that when he goes into trance, he's got this incredible terminology, knows all the terminology for medicine, and he becomes like a doctor in a trance. And he diagnoses himself, he heals himself, and then he starts healing other people remotely. People get in touch with him, and he'll, sometimes even before they've got in touch with him, he's able to somehow psychically diagnose what their issue is and tell them exactly what to do to heal. And this is the incredible story of Edgar Cayce, and there is thousands of accounts of him just healing people with no medical background, having not been a particularly academic child, all through, and the reason why he never took money is because he believed it was a gift from God. And I think probably that the fact that he never took money was probably the biggest testimony to I suppose it's the phenomena of it, the fact that he's genuine, the authenticity of it is what I'm trying to say, but it is early. Anyway, that's it. I wanted to share that story with you. If you find this interesting, I mean, if you got to this point, you must have found it interesting, because 6 minutes 30, I'm very sorry for ranting on for so long, but if you did find it interesting, please drop a comment below or engage with this in some way. A like, something like that. Thank you. Anyway, I think it's an amazing story, so I just hope it's it's just a seed for you to open something else, which is what it did for me all those years ago, to the point that I came back to it. And I'm now a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, depending on the day.